Hi, my name is Ellie, and I am very happy to welcome you to Lamoille Soil, our commercial composting facility in Johnston, Vermont. This is the receiving bay of Lamoille Soil. This is where all the food scraps come and are tipped. So some places will call this a tipping floor, but we call it our receiving bay. This is where we receive our food scraps. So this is a food scrap tote that can sometimes weigh up to 200 pounds. We're tipping about 70 of these a week. Not all of them are in totes. We do also have 3 trailers that come in, big trailers, so we're tipping multiple totes out of those at a time. And you will see how we tip individual totes when they come in. So what we do is we take 1 week at a time and we tip it and we mix it with a lot of other carbon materials so that those microbes that do all of the breaking down have a really good diet to make them happy and make sure that they start that decomposition process right away. So you can see that there's about 15 tons of material in here right now. And what we'll do in another week is we will mix all of this together again and make sure our recipe is correct. And then we will move it to our primary aerated static pile bay so that the decomposition process can continue. This is our primary bay where the food scraps come right from the receiving bay to here. The food stays here for about 3 to 5 weeks depending upon how the temperature responds and how our spacing situation is at our facility. This is our primary piece of equipment that makes all of this happen. So this is our bucket loader, and this right here is our 1 cubic yard measuring cup that helps us keep track of what's in our recipe, how much of everything that's in our recipe, and really how we know how much compost, how much everything that we have happening up here is all measured with this. This is our feedstock shed, which we also affectionately call our pantry because it houses all of our ingredients for our compost pile recipe. One of our primary ingredients is horse manure that we get from a local horse farm just down the road. We also use this space to store some of our curing compost. Very infrequently we add that back into our pile, and it's just great to be able to have it under cover to keep it active and curing. Another great ingredient that we use is sawdust. It not only is really great for our recipe, but it helps us control moisture in a lot of different ways. We also have sawdust available at all of our facilities, so we add it to totes. As people drop off food into the totes, we add sawdust in between as a good layering agent for that. Another really crucial ingredient in our recipe is hay. So we pull the hay apart so that it doesn't stay in big cubes, and that really helps the microbes actively get at it when it's in smaller pieces. They have really tiny mouths, and so the smaller things are, the easier it is for them to break them down. And then we also collect leaf and yard debris at our facilities, so we have the advantage of being able to use that as a carbon source in our recipe as well. So our pantry is pretty well stocked, and it gives a good diet for our microbes to make that really great compost. This is our secondary ASP bay, and the food has been moved here after being in the primary ASP bays for about probably 3 to 5 weeks depending. And you can see that there's not a lot of recognizable food left here. Usually the things that we find are things that don't decompose well in the first round. So things that you may be able to recognize in there, like a lot of bones, maybe an avocado pit. Other things that we see are like corn cobs that take a while to break down. Some other things might be items, looks like a clementine that didn't necessarily make it into the middle of the pile where it probably would have broken down quicker. They still get really hot. So this is at about 150 degrees at our deepest, our 3-foot depth, and we're at about close to that at about just over 140 at our 1-foot depth too. So this pile will sit here for about another 3 to 4 weeks before it moves into the next phase, which is the curing phase of our composting process. This is one of our empty, aerated, static pile bays. And at the bottom of each bay is a 4-inch PVC pipe that has holes in it. And those holes are how the air gets through to be able to monitor and maintain control over the temperature and the moisture of all of our piles. And the pipes are attached to a fan manifold in the back of each of our bays. This is what we affectionately refer to as fan alley. You can see the fan manifolds here, and essentially it's just kind of a giant hair dryer attached to a dryer hose, and each of our 5 bays has their own fan set up and can be individually controlled from the panel in the workshop. This is the panel that operates all of the fans that are attached to the individual bays. Each fan has its own switch, so it could be turned on and off individually. We can also set the time, the amount of time that the fan is off or on, and we can adjust the speed of the fans too. This is our screener, and the way we use this is in the yellow bucket on the other side. We scoop our curing compost or finished compost, we screen both, into the yellow bucket, and then this trommel spins around, and anything that's bigger than a 1/2 inch falls out the drum, and the finished smaller compost goes up the conveyor and falls down into this place here, and we're able to scoop that up and make sure we collect that to be able to be used, and anything that comes out the trommel gets collected into this pile, which we call our overs pile, and we're able to use that as capping material and put it back into the composting process. Hi, so here we have our curing compost. This pile that I am sitting on is about 84 cubic yards. It has taken probably about 6 to 8 months for us to get this pile. This pile has already been screened, so we are just waiting for the microbes to finish the activity and breaking down all of the other matter that's in this pile, and then we're going to run what's called a Solvita test on this to make sure the maturity is at the right level so that we can sell this as finished compost from our entire completed composting process. So the pile behind me is about 6 months worth of food scrap and feedstocks that have come in to our facility, and we collect from all 5 of our residential drop-off transfer stations as well as from commercial haulers. So in another probably 3 months, this pile will be similar in size to the one that we just visited. So it's a pretty fascinating process to see the decomposition and the change in size that happens in a relatively short amount of time.